After reports of Fred VanVleet's injury, many people were counting out the Rockets as legit contenders in the stacked Western Conference. We're sure they have that elite size and defense from last year returning, while also adding one of the best bucket getters in the league. But the idea was, with VanVleet being out, the Rockets' offense would lack direction and stability throughout the course of games. But in Houston's last preseason matchup, they put up a healthy 140 points. So in this video, we're going to do a deep dive on the film to see what adjustments the Rockets have made to their offense, with their veteran point guard being out, and whether or not it's going to be sustainable in the regular season. Now again, despite the Rockets adding Kevin Durant, a vast majority of their offense is still flowing through Alperen Şengün, who at 23 years old is still on the rise from a skill and physicality standpoint. Now what makes Şengün so unique is that he can score and create offense from literally all three levels. He can establish position in the low post and chisel his way into buckets and fouls, face up from 15 feet out and dime up cutters, or he can initiate offense from the perimeter off a live dribble. And again, because the Rockets are missing that veteran point guard presence, Alperen being a non-stop release foul for their offense is going to be a big deal. First, out beyond the three, people do underestimate how good Şengün is with the ball. He's obviously not super quick or explosive, but for his size, he does have really good footwork and ball control. We'll see him here sizing up Porzingis off the dribble, to then hit the sharp cross jab, where he pushes the ball across to his right hand first, to then jab and explode off that left foot second. This move here is big time, where in semi-transition, he's gonna hesitate by skipping off that right foot, to then replant it and push himself downhill. And he's going to attack right into the big's chest and then put up the soft left-hand push-out. And moves like this are pretty standard for your typical guard or wing, but it's much different for a 6'11", 250 center to have this type of footwork and body control. Off the dribble, Alperen can also protect the ball and counter against pressure. Look how Jalen Johnson here is trying to extend out and speed him up off the dribble, but when Alperen feels him leaning on that right hip, he's just going to drop down and turn back over into a quick spin. And that pace off the dribble also allows Şengün to operate at a pick and roll, where he can lower his shoulder and barrel towards the basket, or use that pace to find the best available shot. Watch him here probe with the ball back and forth as the screen gets set, and when he feels that space, he's going to rise up for this soft free throw line jumper.
Franchise history last year as that goes down.
Now whether he's playing in pick and roll or isolation from the perimeter, Alperen is always a non-stop passing threat. If he gets two on the ball in pick and roll, he has no problem finding the roller. And with shooters like Kevin Durant, Jabari Smith, and Reed Sheppard on the court, Alperen is going to create plenty of spray out threes with that rim pressure. And then along with that ability to initiate offense from the perimeter, it's also important to note that Alperen is a real problem when playing with his back to the basket, where that blend of strength, footwork, and touch makes him a really tough one-on-one matchup. So, because Alperen is a pretty good all-around scorer, the Rockets can leverage that to set up countless of different actions. One thing they've been doing a lot of is using him as a passing hub from the 3 or mid post. And because Houston has athletes and shooters all over the court, these sets are going to be really tough to deal with. Take this play for example. We have Alperen here catching below the deep corner, with Smith going down to set this cross screen for Kevin Durant. From this spot, the defense has to deal with multiple problems. First, you have Durant shifting up towards the ball. Second, you have Şengün playing one-on-one with all the space. Plus, you also have an elite cutter and lob threat in a Thompson on the weak side. But then even if the defense gets all that covered, the Rockets also have Jabari Smith slipping towards the basket out of the screen. Now obviously as a scorer, Şengün isn't bulletproof. First, because he isn't an elite outside shooter, the defense for the most part can just sit back and clog up the paint, which typically draws him into pushed out long twos. And while Alperen does have pretty good touch from 8 to 10 feet, those numbers do drop once he gets pushed outside the paint. But regardless, Alperen's pros offensively far outweigh his cons. And this might be the first year we've actually seen him with legit offensive weapons. And this now leads us to Alperen Thompson. In the Rockets' half-court sets, him and Şengün have developed really good chemistry, where if Alperen is operating in the mid or low post, Thompson is really good at navigating and finding the soft spots of the defense. And like we all know, if a man catches anywhere close to the basket, it's pretty much a guaranteed catch and finish.
Oh look, stutter step, slam on the...
Now, outside of cutting and playing off the gravity of Houston's other scorers, I actually think Thompson is going to do his best work playing in transition. Simply put, out in the open floor, I don't think there's anybody on the planet who can hang with Thompson athletically, where obviously he has ridiculous speed and verticality, but his ability to pick up and cover ground is also crazy. We'll see him here gather from 20 feet out, to then extend past the defense with these 2 long strides, and find this finish on the other side of the rim. And pretty much all those physical tools for Thompson also carry over to his play in the half court, where that ability to put his foot on the gas and put pressure on the rim is going to be huge. And again, this year, the Rockets' spacing is also going to be much better, so Thompson is going to both have bigger gaps and a clearer paint to work with. And then Thompson this year will also have a much bigger role as a playmaker. And while I wouldn't say he's a top tier passer right now, the amount of pressure that he puts on the defense does make his reads pretty simple. And another underrated element in Houston's roster is that they have multiple guys who can both shoot and put the ball down. So Thompson just being able to penetrate the paint to then spray the ball out and create closeouts will make life pretty easy for guys like Jabari Smith and Kevin Durant. But while Thompson's physical gifts are more than enough to make him effective on both sides of the ball, I still have questions about how much he can actually shoulder as a primary creator. Obviously, his 3-point shooting limits his ability to stretch the defense, plus he is prone to getting sped up and rushing things off the dribble. But regardless of Thompson being green in certain spots, he still gives the Rockets a legit scoring punch both on and off the ball. And if he can continue to use that rim pressure to collapse the defense and create closeouts, that's going to be more than enough to create quality offense. Now, the elephant in the room with Houston's offense is going to be Kevin Durant. Even at age 37, KD is still one of the best shooters and all-around scorers in the league. But even with his numbers and efficiency staying up, I do think this version of Durant can't really quarterback an offense. First, the combination of his injuries and age has really taken away his first step off the dribble, which has both limited his ability to get blow-bys and put pressure on the rim. And because the defense no longer respects that driving game, they now have a license to step out and pressure him off the bounce, leading to more live ball turnovers. And again, when you combine KD's lack of quickness along with that loose handle, it makes it really tough for him to secure the ball and work the spots. Last year, Durant averaged over 3 giveaways per game, which was the 9th highest across the league. But the thing is, when it comes to Durant's actual usage, he was outside of the top 20 by a pretty big margin. So that means that he's turning the ball over at a high rate without really being tasked a lot as a lead ball handler. So considering how Durant is still a high volume and efficient scorer, but doesn't really have the build to be a heliocentric type of player, how exactly should the Rockets use him? Now, first off the catch, Durant is still one of the best spot-up shooters in the league. He's accurate, has sharp footwork, and that length makes it really difficult to contest. And then along with that, he can still attack closeouts off the catch, where off of 1 or 2 dribbles, he can either rise up for in-between pull-ups or make the next pass.
And into Şengün, look out.
Out on the perimeter, Ime Udoka has made it a point to give Durant momentum with the ball, where he gets extra time and space to attack the defense with a head of steam. Look how he's going to run off his handoff, to then explode through the catch and knife all the way to the rim. And while Durant's handle is still a little bit shaky, he can control the ball and operate out of pick and roll in open space. He does a good job here of keeping the defense on his hip, to then bump and work his way down into this turnaround. And like we all know, if there's any windows for him to rise up out of pick and roll, it's pretty much a guaranteed 2 or 3 points.
Elbow J. And that's his first.
So while Durant at this point can stomach a lot of responsibility as a lead ball handler, he can still give you 25 plus points by just picking his spots. He's still a top tier spot up shooter, he can play off his shot and attack closeouts, plus butcher one-on-one matchups in open space. Now another guy who I think is worth going over is Jabari Smith. Coming into his 4th year, Smith has low-key turned himself into a pretty good 3-level scorer. He can generate 3-point looks both off the dribble and catch. He's looking more comfortable putting the ball down and attacking the basket. And he has the tools to be a really good mid-post scorer. We haven't seen much of it over these last few games, but trust me, Jabari Smith on the block has a lot of game. I think Smith can get 20 plus points per game by just picking his spots in the flow of the offense. I do think he has a lot of room for improvement with his passing, but his skill set is still pretty versatile and will fit with a variety of lineups. So with Jabari Smith and KD, the Rockets have two guys who can shoot, put the ball down, and attack one-on-one matchups. That type of spacing and versatility will fit perfectly with the play style that Şengün and Thompson bring. And those four players together, along with Reed Shepherd and Aaron Holiday giving you solid minutes from the point guard position, I think is more than enough to keep the Rockets offense afloat. And the thing is, even with VanVleet being healthy, the Rockets offense was never going to be their calling card. Like we saw last year, the foundation of this team was going to be their defense and rebound. And with Adams and Tari Eason coming off the bench, the Rockets are going to most likely keep the same identity. I think if the young core of Thompson, Smith, and Şengün all take a big step forward this year, Udoka finds a way to maximize KD's scoring while limiting his turnovers, plus we see that same elite defense from last year, I think the Rockets will easily be a top 3 team in the West. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what the kids should break down next. The kids here.